YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I'm just making sure everything is set up. Okay, we're live on stream. Everything is indeed set up. As you can see, we're here live on stream. So yeah, let's take a look what it actually looks like, guys. Awesome, I can see what it looks like. Cool. Let me just make sure I'm comfortable with it. Yeah, absolutely, looks great. Looks great. Only a couple things I want to change. But in the meantime, while I'm changing that, let's pull this up. Oops. Now, in my opinion, this lady is completely full of crap. She is part of the liberal democratic propaganda machine of the left-wing media and the left-wing government that's going to be dismembered. And basically, she's part of the deep state. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me just put it in layman's terms for you. She's part of the deep state. She is 110% part of the deep state. Now, luckily for us, we're going to go to in-depth and looking of why she is part of the deep state. Guys, welcome back to the stream. Alright, let me continue with the stream.
Thank you.
Now let's play the video.
Comment by an FBI, that's usually what they say when there's an ongoing investigation, particularly when it's a couple of days before an election. But why are we here? Why? You know, that's been the question that quite a number of people have been asking me. Why are you having this hearing? What does this have to do with inflation? What does this have to do with the cost of living?
Absolutely nothing.
What does this have to do?
They are after RFK Jr. They don't give a shit about inflation. They don't care about the American citizen. All they care about is putting these propaganda ideas into your brain. That's their number one goal. They don't care about the American citizen. Their number one goal is to penetrate your mind with their CIA bullcrap. What's the number one way of mind control? Repeating the same lies over and over and over and over and over again. And if they can do that 24 hours on the media machine called CNN and all the other liberal news networks, then that's called active CIA mind control.
With the everyday lives of Americans, the thing that the Republican Party said that they would focus on if they had control of the House. Why would the Republican leadership and the committee majority give a hearing and a platform to the witnesses today? Specifically to Mr. Kennedy, a man who has recently claimed that COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and Black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. And before that, in his film, Medical Racism, The New Apartheid, that film stated that COVID-19 vaccines do not work for Black children because of their, quote, kick-ass kind of immune system. That hyper, superhuman, subhuman kind of language.
That's not bad, that's good.
He also said, even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps to Switzerland. You could hide in an attic like Anne Frank did, to imply Jews in Nazi Germany had more freedoms than unvaccinated Americans during the COVID-19 pandemic.
True.
Now, many of my Republican colleagues across the dais will
cover
that they have Mr. Kennedy here because they want to protect his free speech, that they do not believe in American censorship. This is not the kind of free speech that I know of. The free speech that is protected by the Constitution's First Amendment. But free speech is not an absolute. The Supreme Court has stated that. And others' free speech that is allowed, hateful, abusive rhetoric, does not need to be promoted in the halls of the people's house. This Republican charge of free speech is being used by Republican members to promote, quasi-science, things such as the replacement theory that says that brown people are replacing good white Americans here in this country. Let's not remember that this country first belonged to brown Native American people.
We
It's
took
a
it.
rallying cry for bigotry and hate.
This country
There are
belonged
members of the
to
Republican
brown people.
Conference who
No,
also
no,
frequently
we
suggest
killed
that
them. It's our
Americans have to
country.
deal with COVID rules as the same
Nice
as
try,
oppression in
though.
Nazi Germany.
Nice try.
Indeed, some have even questioned whether the Holocaust took place. We have staffers who openly follow white supremacy
Lies.
without
No
any
one-
condemnation
lies.
of the Republican Congress.
No Republicans say that. This is all fucking propaganda. Excuse my language. This is bullshit. No Republican ever. No, this is bullshit.
Some give it chuckles, slaps on the back, shrugs, all under the mantra of free speech. It's a free country. You absolutely have a right to say what you believe. But you don't have the right to a platform, public or private. We don't have to give one of the largest platforms of our democracy, Congress, this hearing. Our right does not mean that we as Americans are not free from accountability.
And Mr. Kennedy, you are now recognized for your opening statement, and then we'll go right down the line.
God bless Mr. Kennedy and his family.
He's going to go a little longer.
Excuse me, point of order. I know that witnesses usually have 5 minutes. I see 10 minutes on the board. Is it going to be 10 minutes
We'll
for
give him
every
5
witness?
minutes, but we're pretty lax with this. We'll let him go for.
We are?
Yeah.
I've seen you gavel down on quite a number of
We've
witnesses.
given senators and former Democrat members of Congress and all kinds
He's
of folks.
neither.
time.
He's
Yeah.
neither.
I'm just saying in past history.
Okay,
in
okay.
Canada. But
Let's just
we'll
watch
give
the
you,
time for all the witnesses.
and if
then.
you want to cut him off and censor him some more, you're welcome to do it.
Oh, that's not my job. That's
Oh, the court system exposes the democratic corrupt system for cutting him off and constantly talking over him with bullshit fucking rhetoric, like they always do.
that's your job. Why don't you threaten a witness so that they can
Mr.
not
Kennedy,
want to be a
Mr.
witness?
Kennedy is recognized for his opening statement. We'll give him 5 minutes.
How about you shut the
more or
fuck
less,
up and let
then
him
we'll move to
speak?
the next one. Mr. Kennedy, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, maybe we could put 5 minutes on the clock then, not 10.
Could we put 5 on the clock and we'll start it running?
Show Mr. Kennedy a little bit fucking respect, and maybe he'll show you some. You
Thank you,
goddamn
Mr. Chairman.
fucking Nazi
And
Democrat.
I want to start. I want
You want to
put
call us
aside my-
Nazis? I'll start off this by calling her a liberal feminist Nazi.
written statement for a moment and address one of the points that was brought up, I think an important point by the ranking member, that this body ought to be concerning itself with the issues that impact directly the American people. The rising price of groceries, 76% over the past 2 years for basic foodstuff, the war in Ukraine, the inflation issues, the border issues, many, many other issues that concern us all as a nation. We can't do that without the First Amendment, without debate. When I gave my speech, my announcement speech in Boston 2 months ago, YouTube, I talked about all those issues. I focused on grocery. I focused on the fact that working class people can no longer afford to live in this country. I talked about inflation, all the issues that deeply concern you, and that you've devoted your career to alleviating those issues. 5 minutes into my speech, when I was talking about Paul Revere, YouTube deplatformed me. I didn't talk about vaccines in that speech. I didn't talk about anything that was a verboten subject. I just was talking about my campaign and things, the conversation that we ought to be having with each other as Americans. But I was shut down, and that is why the First Amendment's important. Debate, congenial, respectful debate is the fertilizer, it's the water, it's the sunlight for our democracy. We need to be talking to each other. Now, this is a letter that many of you signed many of my fellow Democrats. I've spent my life in this party. I've devoted my life to the values of this party. This 102 people signed this. This itself is evidence of the problem that this hearing was convened to address. This is an attempt to censor a censorship hearing. The charges in this, and by the way, censorship is antithetical to our party. It was appalling to my father, to my uncle, to FDR, to Harry Truman, to Thomas Jefferson, as the chairman referred to. It is the basis for democracy. It sets us apart from all of the previous forms of government. We need to be able to talk, and the First Amendment was not written for easy speech. It was written for the speech that nobody likes you for. And
that's right. We can't just say to censor people because it's quote-unquote misinformation. Fucking bullshit.
I was the first person.
No more censoring people. This is going to be Trump's administration.
The Biden administration, 2 days after it came into office, it ordered a truthful, and by the way, they had to invent a new word called malinformation to censor people like me.
Absolutely,
there was no
they
misinformation on my Instagram account. Everything I put on.
Guys, they used to say shit wasn't true or is false or is fake. Now everything a fucking Republican says is misinformation. Everything off Elon's Twitter is misinformation machine. That's their #1 word to use to attack you.
That account was cited and sourced to peer-reviewed publications or government databases. Nobody has ever pointed to a single piece of misinformation that I publish. I was removed for something they called malinformation. Malinformation is information that is true, but is inconvenient to the government, that they don't want people to hear. And that's antithetical to the values of our country. After I announced my presidency, it became more difficult for people to censor me outright. So now I'm subject to this new form of censorship, which is called targeted propaganda, where people apply pejoratives like anti-vax. I've never been anti-vaccine, but everybody in this room probably believes that I have been, because that's the prevailing narrative. Anti-Semitism, racism, these are the most appalling, disgusting pejoratives, and they're applied to me to silence me.
No, listen, everyone that's a Democrat or voted for Harris, I want you to listen in to the specific part I'm about to speak now. Just because they call someone a racist, just because they say they hate Jews, just because they say they love Adolf Hitler, that they're Hitler, does not mean any of those things are true. These are identity politics. You're fucking attacking people because you're claiming they're something they're not. How dare you say Donald Trump hates Jews? How dare you say Donald Trump is Hitler when his grandchildren are freaking Jewish? Like, what is wrong with these people? What is wrong with them?
Because people don't want me to have that conversation about the war, about groceries, about inflation, about the war on the middle class in this country.
Smash the like and subscribe button.
And by the way, I want to say this while I'm on the record, that in my entire life, and why I'm under oath, in my entire life, I have never uttered a phrase that was either racist or anti-Semitic. I have spent my life fighting my professional career, fighting for Israel, for the protection of Israel. I have a better record on Israel than anybody in this chamber today. I'm the only person who has publicly objected to the $2 billion payout that the Biden administration is now making to Iran, which is a genocidal program. I'm the only one who's objected to that. I fought more.
Yet he's the quote-unquote Nazi. He is Adolf Hitler's grandson. He is whatever you want to call him. He hates Jews. Blah, 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 blah. They're inhuman. All fake.
Ferociously for Israel than anybody. But I am being censored here through this target, through smears, through misinterpretations of what I've said, through lies, through association, which is a tactic that we all thought we had been discredited and dispensed with after the Army McCarthy hearings in the 1950s. But those same weapons are now being deployed against me to silence me. I know many of the people who wrote this letter. I don't believe there's a single person who signed this letter who believes I'm anti-Semitic. I do not believe that. There is no evidence of that. Now, I want to say something I think that's more important, and it goes directly to what you talked about, ranking member, which is the need, this toxic polarization that is destroying our country today. And how do we deal with that? This kind of division is more dangerous for our country than any time since the American Civil War. And how do we deal with that?
We gotta unite.
Every Democrat on this committee believes that we need to end that polarization. Do you think you can do that by censoring people? I'm telling you, you cannot. That only aggravates and amplifies the problem. We need to start being kind to each other. We need to start being respectful to each other. We need to start restoring the comedy to this chamber and to the rest of America, but it has to start here. My uncle, Edward Kennedy, has more legislation with his name on it than any senator in United States history. Why is that? Because he was able to reach across the aisle, because he didn't deal in insults, because he didn't try to censor people. He brought home people who were antithetical to what he believed in. He came home almost every weekend with people like Orrin Hatch to our house at the compound in Hyannisport. At that time, Orrin Hatch to me was like Darth Vader, because I was an environmentalist. And I was saying, why is Teddy bringing this guy home?
Why, Teddy? Why?
He was effective because he understood that comedy and respect and kindness and compassion and empathy for other people is the only way to restore the function in this chamber. But more importantly, today we need to give an example in the leadership of our country of being respectful to each other. If you think I said something that's anti-Semitic, let's talk about the details. I'm telling you all the things that I'm accused of right now by you. And in this letter are distortions, they're misrepresentations. I didn't say those things.
He did not.
There's fragments that I said, but I denounce anybody who uses the words that I have said to imply something that is negative about people who are Jewish. I never said those things. And I want to point out also that the chairman pointed to Dennis Kucinich, who's fighting behind me. There is no two people in the country who feel more differently about American politics than these two people. And yet they were friends. Dennis attended his children's basketball games, attended his daughter's wedding. This is what we need, how we need to start treating each other in this country. We have to stop trying to destroy each other, to marginalize, to vilify, to gaslight each other. We have to find that place inside of ourselves of light, of empathy, of compassion, and above all, we need to elevate the Constitution of the United States, which was written for hard times. And that has to be the premier compass for all of our activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Now recognize the ranking member for 5 minutes. And I think we'll do ranking member and one more, and then we'll have to take a break.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that we talked earlier about a post that Mr. Kennedy had at the beginning of the Biden administration. I just want the record to reflect that that post has not been taken down. So I'm wondering about the extent of censorship when the post is still there. But more importantly, again, I go back to just the fact that we are creating a platform for this kind of discussion, not about the censorship, not about free speech, but the content of some of that speech that we are amplifying in this room. I'm appalled and just so troubled by colleagues that I have to work with, that these are individuals who would bring a witness who's promoted a video that compared the COVID vaccine to the Tuskegee trials. The Tuskegee trials were a very difficult time in Black America, where individuals who were already sick with the disease were then reviewed, experimented on, who already had a disease, to see how far that disease went. And making the comparison that manipulates and preys on Black people's feelings about the atrocities of the past in order to prevent them from seeking life-saving vaccines in the present. And knowing that this is dangerous, I cannot also be unaware that this comes from an individual who, by Mr. Roy's introduction, is very smart and understands the implications of this. You know, Mr. Kennedy's own family just decries his stance on vaccines, and families disagree on a lot of things. I got family members that, you know, we all disagree, so that doesn't mean anything. But the fact that he has famously sent a request to a party guest that they had to be vaccinated to come to his party. And I'd like to introduce into the record a letter from Louis Silkin, a law firm representing Mr. Kennedy, which states, as he has stated repeatedly, he vaccinated all his children.
Absolutely.
And I'd like that to be introduced into the record. But tells the Black community and myself, a mother of 5 Black children, that I should really be careful and not necessarily have the same safeguards to protect my family, my children, from a virus that has killed millions of people because I'm Black. There's no secret that this is an amplification of his own platform. You know, I'm not going to talk about the money that's received from the Children's Health Defense, from his anti-vaccine organization that's responsible for...
Wait a second. Before you start complaining about all of that, are you going to talk about the money that you receive from the vaccine companies?
Majority of the false information about their...
Hey guys, I'm live on my other channel right now. I'm recording a video, so please go check it out if you haven't.
Other vulnerable communities to propagate
Travel and Trash
these
Talk.
pseudosciences.
The gentleman from North Dakota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to yield my time to Representative Massey.
I thank the gentleman from North Dakota. Wow, the irony and cognitive dissonance from the other side of the aisle. It's deafening. You could cut it with a knife. They are at the same time denying that censorship is occurring, but suggesting that there's more material that needs to be censored. This is a hearing on censorship that began with an effort, with a formal motion from the other side of the aisle to censor Mr. Kennedy. They do not want him to speak, yet that is the topic of this hearing. They have kept him from speaking. A collusion between the government and private organizations. Mr. Kennedy, in your opening statement, you introduced us to this word malinformation. Can you tell us more about this made-up word, what it means, and some of the things that you've said or tried to say that you've been censored for that's been characterized as malinformation?
Yes, Congressman Massey, and if by your leave, I'd like to just respond briefly to some of the, what I would call defamations that have been just applied to me by the ranking member. I'm happy to talk to you about my opinions on these issues, what you have stated and tried to associate me with through guilt by association is simply inaccurate. Virtually everything, every statement that you just made about me is inaccurate. I have never advised Black Americans not to receive vaccines. At one point you say I'm anti-vax, and that's a bad thing. The other moment you point out that all my children are vax. I'm fully compliant with the vaccine schedule myself, except for COVID. I took flu vaccines for 20 years straight. I have never been anti-vax. I have never told the public avoid vaccination. The only thing I've asked for, and my views are constantly misrepresented, so that the truth of what I believe is not, we're not allowed to have a conversation about that with the American people, which I believe vaccines should be tested with the same rigor as other medicines and medications. You tried to associate me a moment ago with the replacement theory, which is racist.
No, I did not say you
Time
had the
belongs to the
replacement
gentleman
theory.
from-
I
I
said
did
my
not-
colleagues.
Time belongs to the gentleman from.
I denounce that theory. It is racist, and I have never endorsed it or had any association with it. Our film on a medical point. By the way,
Medical apartheid?
Bill Buxton, who is the black CDC official who ultimately exposed the Tuskegee experiment, tried for years and years to appeal to CDC to stop it for 40 years. Finally, he got relief by walking into my uncle's office in the building next door. He held hearings and ended the experiment. I remember that very well. And to say that I created a film that encourages blacks not to get adequate medical care is just completely abhorrent.
Don't use my words.
It's the witness's time. Do not censor the witness.
I'm not censoring the witness. I'm not censoring the witness. He's still talking. I don't
It's my
have the
time, and
issue.
I'm giving it to
Censoring
the
the
witness.
witness.
Do not censor him.
I'm not censoring him.
If the views that
She's
you
censoring the
and
witness.
others have applied to me, have attributed to me, if they were actually true, I can see why I shouldn't be able to testify here today. Those are not true. These are defamations and malignancies that are used to censor me, to prevent people from listening to the actual things that I'm saying. And I think, ranking member, that we should have a real conversation rather than an exchange of ad hominem attacks.
Mr. Kennedy's and others here are claiming that they've been censored, but they actually have a huge megaphone. The rules that my colleague tried to bring up were rules that the Republicans made at the beginning of this Congress. They did not allow the Democrats to be part of that. And one of those rules was that if information or testimony might potentially defame an individual, that we would go in executive session. No one was trying to stop him from testifying, but not to give him the megaphone that this group has allowed him to have. I also note, in terms of censorship, that the far-right media has already issued articles about me playing the race card. The race card is something that's often used against Black people for bringing up when they see race hatred being.
All you do is say race, hatred, race, hatred, hatred, race. This man hasn't said one racist thing the entire time. You can't quote one racist thing he said. You can't quote anything. All you do is fucking make up shit. Just shut the fuck up. I'm tired of listening to people like this. With all due respect.
Propagated against
Which is
them.
none.
And
No
it's
respect
a means
is
to
due.
try and keep us quiet and keep us in our place.
No,
Oh,
everyone's
you're
still a
playing the
human.
race
Everyone's
card
still a
by
human. Even
bringing
though
up-
she's after political matters and she literally got paid to go to court against this dude, whatever.
What is obvious in our lives, what is obviously happening, race. And so you can keep saying I'm race baiting and try and censor me, but I'm going to continue to tell the truth. I want to be abundantly clear about what else is happening in this room. The MAGA Republicans are trying to scare social media companies into not taking down blatantly false information in the lead up.
Wait. Why the fuck should we censor our shit because you don't want Trump to win? Mrs. Plaskinet, communist, socialist, scum, deep state scum.
To our 2024 presidential election.
Harris
Chair
lost,
Jordan
Harris
knows,
lost, Harris
as
lost.
we do, that when conspiracy
If I went up to her, I would just start poking the shit out of her. I'd be like, Harris lost, Harris lost, Harris lost, Harris lost. So what are you gonna do? Harris lost.
theories succeed, so does Donald Trump.
She'd start having a
Russia
mental
interfered
breakdown.
in our 2016 election. They attempted in our 2020, and they're going to try to interfere in the 2024 presidential election. We note that Russian trolls sought to suppress the Black vote by unleashing a torrent of
Yeah,
social
that's
media
who they
posts
cared about. They
designed
cared the
to
most
stoke
about
racial
the Black
tensions
vote.
and spread incorrect voting information. In 2021, our national intelligence agencies found that proactive information sharing between the government and social media companies facilitated the expeditious review and, in many cases, removal of social media accounts covertly operated by Russia and Iran. Ms. Wiley, if the government is not able to proactively share information with social media companies in 2024, what is likely to have be the ramifications? And I'd ask that you make your answer as succinct as possible because there's a lot of information I need.
I will just quote one thing. Mr. Prigozhin, who's been in the news of late, actually said explicitly and openly that they would continue to try to spread mis- and disinformation into the United States and interfere with our elections.
So,
thank you. They know that Russian interference, that is, the MAGA Republicans know that Trump benefits when Russia interferes. The super PAC that supports the same super PAC that supports Mr. Kennedy and has raised significant funds on his behalf is run by a man named Jason Bowles. Here's Jason Bowles' Twitter profile, as you can see up on the screen. Jason Bowles isn't just a MAGA supporter. He also ran the super PAC for MAGA Republicans Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, George Santos,
have a mental breakdown over it.
He supported Herschel Walker.
Guys, this is what I mean when America has political freaking warfare. People are getting locked up for their opinions. People are getting fucking court ordered. People are getting raided. People are having to sit in court shit like this over fucking politics. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm surprised people like RFK can come calmly and collected like this, because if I was him, I would absolutely destroy her ass. Like, she would leave the courtroom crying with what I had to say about her. I would attack her personally. I would defend the fuck out of myself and attack her extremely personal.
The person behind Mr. Kennedy's super PAC is an individual who personally and professionally wants the Republican Party to succeed.
Listen, miss, just be glad that you don't have to go against me or Trump, because it's a little bit hard to defend yourself when you sound like this. But I love RFK. It's just true. It's harder to defend yourself when you have a voice like this. Fuck, that hurts even just to do it. But God bless RFK, God bless America. Show a little bit of respect for our new government leaders.
Yet, Mr. Kennedy is running as a Democrat. Ms. Wiley, will it benefit Mr. Kennedy as well as the other individuals that are supported by the super PAC if social media companies are less able to detect and, if needed, if they determine that it's needed, to remove Russian covert information designed to suppress votes in this country?
It is possible.
Thank you. I yield back.
Hi, Flash Bomb Man. I didn't even notice you in here. See, we at least got some of our viewers coming. What we actually got to do is get all of our viewers from the other page to this page, but that's kind of a long way from coming.
Yield the remainder of the time. Lady yields back. I now recognize Mr. Stubbe from Florida for his 5 minutes.
Mr. Kennedy, do you want to respond to that? Can you do that quickly?
Yeah, I've never heard of Mr. Bowles, and I've never heard of that super PAC. This is typical of the accusations against me at this hearing. They are baseless. Every single one. I've been subjected to a parade of defamations. If I believe
guys,
those
go on
things
my
about
live stream
myself,
now. I'm currently live streaming. Go on this channel, please, because, you know, go on this channel. Everyone go on this channel.
None of those are true, and they were all
I'm live streaming off this
parade of
channel, guys.
accusations and defamations.
I'm live streaming here right now for the better quality.
It was calculated to make sure that I could not respond to any of them. Every one of them I'd like to respond to, but I was not allowed to.
Guys, please join on to the new live stream, Travel and Trash Talk.
Regarding,
you're just watching a live stream, watching a live stream. So if you want to see the actual live stream, you guys got to go to Travel and Trash Talk.
And If you could
You're
tell
just watching
us,
a live
it
stream,
seems
watching
to
a
me
live
that
stream.
while Mr.
If you
Kennedy
guys
is
want to
here,
join
claims
the
have been
official
censored,
live
but
stream,
in reality, his group
travel
Children's Health
and
Defense
trash
have been
talk,
allowed to say
travel
whatever they
and
want on
trash
Gab.
talk.
Can you share what Gab
So
is?
please, I need the 16 people from here to go onto my
Gab
other page.
is a online community that it explicitly states that it wants to create a Christian political economy, and it is a space where researchers have identified a massive influx of extremist and also explicitly anti-Semitic engagement and behavior. Not saying that's about everyone who participates, but
guys,
that has
go
been
over to the new
documented.
channel, Travel and
as I
Trash Talk.
stated earlier,
I'm streaming there right now.
The convicted murderer in the Tree of Life massacre actually spent a lot of time on that.
You guys
and it
are
was
watching someone
deplatformed
stream.
because it was not adhering to
Please go like and subscribe. Go check out the live stream. I'm live on my second channel right now.
Thank you. I yield back.
Live on the
I
second
want to thank
channel.
our witnesses
Live on the second
for
channel.
being here today. We
So
appreciate the
everyone,
work you're
please
doing
leave
to
now and go on to there.
defend the First Amendment. And thank you for just very compelling answers and compelling testimony and the work you've done and how important this is for the country. And if we don't have a First Amendment, it's just, I'm frightened by where we go.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
You may not. You may not.
I just
Mr.
want to
Chair,
respond.
Mr. Chair,
I don't
the
think-
time is out. We're done.
I haven't adjourned the hearing, and I don't think you're the chair.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
Chairman's
Guys, go on my
discretion.
I know
second
it's your
channel.
discretion,
We're gonna let
but
Mr. Kennedy
he
answer.
has had so much additional time.
Well, I think everyone's had
Why?
additional time. and we're gonna
Why?
get-
Why are you doing that
Cry.
specifically for him?
Cry.
As opposed to other people.
I'm sure that with
super PAC.
I'm sure the
On
Democratic
other
witness will be
places.
as short as he possibly can.
No. Are you going to allow our witness to just give another piece?
No,
of
let him
what-
address the
wanna
defamatory
acknowledge-
comment that was made
address-
about him that's untrue.
That was not defamatory. That is a legal definition that was not met.
I want to acknowledge
it my-
information about the super PAC that you mentioned.
Go ahead.
I've just been told that that super PAC is connected to somebody that we have a connection to. It's not a super PAC that I've endorsed, and it's not one, as I said, that I've ever heard of.
Thank the gentleman.
Huh. Interesting enough.
John Heindereker, who joins us from Minnesota as always.
Guys,
John,
I need
great
everyone to
see
follow
you.
my
Now listen,
main
I've got some bad
streaming
news and some
account
good news. The
that I'm
bad
streaming on
news
right
is
now.
that Tim Waltz is coming back to Minnesota. He's actually moving next door to you, John. He's got a little place just down the road there. I thought you two could go and have a beer together.
Go
But the
subscribe,
good news is
drop
we're
a
busy
like.
identifying secret Trump voters. There's a new category, the secret Trump voter. And we think we found one. Just watch the smile on this man's face. Here we go.
Guys, I need you guys to go subscribe and go watch on here. You're gonna love this stream a million times better. You're not even seeing everything on here. So please, go subscribe. We're live right now on here.
We're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So, welcome. Thank you.
The big smile on Joe Biden's face when he welcomed Donald Trump to the White House. What did you make of it, John?
Alright guys, that's it. If you guys aren't following the other channel yet, that's your
loss.
loss. Go like and go follow it. I'm gone on here.
I was very unhappy
Go
about
join
being
the stream on
shoved
here. I'm
aside
out.
in favor
Peace.
of Kamala Harris. And there's a considerable feeling that Biden was glad to see Harris lose and was glad to see Trump win just for personal reasons. But I think there's another point here too, Rowan, that's worth making. For years, Joe Biden has been denouncing Donald Trump as a Nazi, a fascist, Hitler, a threat to the republic. Well, now Trump wins the election and Joe Biden is all smiles and they have this friendly meeting and he's welcoming Trump to the White House. And I think a lot of liberals, especially younger liberals, are wondering what's going on. I mean, did Biden not really mean it when he talked about Trump as a fascist and a threat to the republic? Well, the answer is no, he didn't mean it. That was ridiculous political invective. And I think some liberals are having their eyes opened here by Joe Biden's change in attitude.
Yeah, that theory about Jill and Joe voting for Trump, Jill will
Republican
red dress,
when she went and voted, and she's also pictured with Donald Trump, beaming, big smiles. What do you make of the theory that the Democrats, after their quiet coup, were planning to have a little bit of a primary type process to make it look like there was going to be a competition and there was going to be some democracy involved in who their candidate was?
Absolutely.
And straight away, Joe went and endorsed Kamala and forced their hand. He kind of had them saddled with her. They really couldn't go against the president.
Well, yeah, that's a good question, Rita. Barack Obama said we're going to have a competitive process to select a candidate to replace Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
But they didn't have a competitive process, and I think there's two reasons for that. One is that Joe Biden really, by endorsing Kamala Harris, probably made it impossible.
Yeah.
But the second thing is they didn't have time. The Democratic convention was at that point just weeks away, and I think they all realized that it would be chaotic. And there's no script. You know, the primaries were over, and Joe Biden got all the votes. So nobody really knew what that competitive process would be. So I think they pretty quickly coalesced around the idea that Kamala had to be the nominee.
James.
Hey, I want to just talk about, you talk about this sudden flip from, Donald Trump's a fascist to welcome back to the White House and all that era of good feeling. But we've also seen an incredible shift this week in Pennsylvania from the party of democracy and we must save democracy and, Donald Trump is a threat to democracy to now in Pennsylvania, it sounds like they are counting disqualified ballots in Democrat counties in an attempt to get Bob Casey back in the Senate. Tell us about this, and is this more of the Democrat idea that we need to destroy democracy in order to save it?
Destroy democracy to save
Well,
it.
the real
If Kamala got no
Democrat
votes, we
win at
gotta
all
put her in
costs, whatever
office.
it takes. And Mark Elias, the lawyer, is the gray eminence of the Democratic Party. He's at it again, trying to overturn the result of the Senate election in Pennsylvania. It's not close. Dave McCormick has won that race by tens of thousands of votes, and the race has been called by everybody, some time ago. But Chuck Schumer would not allow McCormick to go to Washington to participate in the training session they have. Two senators, right? And Mark Elias is there, and he's trying to get a whole bunch of ballots that have been disqualified now to be counted. And in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, the Democrats in charge there are explicitly ignoring and refusing to follow a court order and are counting ballots that have legally been held to be invalid. And so it's really an outrageous attempt to steal that Senate seat by the Democratic Party.
Whenever someone gets arrested for a crime, they get booked into a jail. Their child can't go with them. Just like if I got arrested tonight, my child couldn't go with me. So it's not about family separation.
Well, the interesting thing about your argument is that these people committed no crimes.
You enter the United States illegally, it's a crime. It's 8 U.S.C. 8 United States Code 1325. It's a crime to enter the United States illegally.
Mr. Holman, sir, what type of policy do you envision that will help children who are fleeing harm's way with their parents usually or some significant
Why do I
person
need
in
a
their lives,
policy?
have the opportunity to be in a safe, secure,
Why do I need a policy?
Well, first of all, if I can,
Don't come
question
in
about raising
illegally.
hands, if you would have said if I support zero tolerance, I would have raised my hand. Not family separation, zero tolerance. You seem to confuse those two issues.
Okay, well, if you would, I'm going to ask that you kindly address my question, but since you raised zero tolerance, I'm not sure what you mean by zero tolerance. Are you saying zero tolerance, no one ever coming to the United States? Is that your zero tolerance policy?
No, you're referring to family separations that have happened under numerous presidents, not just this president. But zero tolerance, what you're referring to is family separations, zero tolerance that was put in place by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. It was zero tolerance to prosecute those who knowingly, intentionally violate our laws.
So, and supporting that policy, you would support family separation then?
Whenever someone gets arrested for a crime, they get booked into a jail, their child can't go with them. Just like if I got arrested tonight, my child couldn't go with me. So it's not about family separations.
Well, the interesting thing about your argument is that these people committed no crimes.
You enter the United States illegally, it's a crime. It's 8 U.S.C., 8 United States Code 1325. It's a crime to enter the United States illegally.
It is not a crime. It's a civil offense.
No, sir, it is not. It's a violation of the criminal code, Title 8, United States Code 1325, illegal entry in the United States. First offense is a misdemeanor, second offense, if you've been ordered, removed, and returned, is a felony.
I agree with that. I don't differ with you on that point. But you would then separate the children.
If you have no option, if someone's being prosecuted and gets sent to U.S. Marshal's custody or to the local jail, the child can't go with them. Happens to U.S. families every day across the country. I think what we're seeing today could have been prevented if Congress was to close the loopholes we've asked them to close. I mean, we proved back in FY 14 and 15 when I worked for Secretary Jay Johnson, who I respect greatly. You know, he let us build family detention, the whole family units in the family residential center long enough to see a judge. And it took about 40, 45 days. And most of them, 90% lost their cases, and we sent them home. And the numbers went down. It worked. So we're asking Congress, look, we've already proved this worked under the Obama administration. How come we're not doing it now? You know, so I think Congress needs to fix this loophole. Let us detain families. If they're really escaping fear and persecution and death, I don't see a problem in being in a family residential center with medical care, pediatricians, child psychologists on staff, 3 squares a day, 6 sets of new clothes, access to lawyers, access to families. These are open air campus facilities. If it saves a life, and that's what I've been testifying the last 4 times. This isn't just about securing our border. This isn't just about enforcing laws, it's about saving lives. It's about 31% of women being raped. If we close these loopholes, we're going to save women from being sexually assaulted. We're going to save children from dying, and we're going to stop bankrolling criminal cartels who are making millions of dollars a day because of the laziness of this country not to fix the loopholes.
And you quote or give several statistics there in your written testimony, and I think that those are very important. And are those statistics that you give, are they supported by your 34 years of service to our country?
Absolutely. And one caveat, the chairwoman mentioned the 87%. I did not say 87% did not show up at a hearing. I said 80% lost their case. So that the innocence rate varies, but every number I quoted today in my testimony, and the numbers I just recently quoted, came off the Executive Office of Immigration Review, the Immigration Court website. They're open to the public. I printed these up last night. So these are Immigration Court's own data. This is not my data. This is data comes from the immigration judges.
And let me ask you about a couple of those statistics that I pulled from your report, and just tell me if they're accurate to the best of your knowledge. 70% of illegal immigrants coming into the country now are family units. Is that accurate to the best of your recollection, the rest of your knowledge?
70 to 72%. It varies every month.
And then it says here, as I see, that roughly 90% of all family units fail to show up for court proceedings.
That was, I quoted the acting Secretary McLean when he made that statement. That number does vary depending on when you look at it and what city you look at it. It can go anywhere from 90% not showing up to 40% not showing up. It depends on what court you look at. So that number fluctuates so much. So that 90% number I use, I quoted the Secretary, as the chairwoman mentioned a few minutes ago, in his testimony 6 months ago.
And what about 85 to 90% don't qualify? For those that do show up, then 85 to 90% don't qualify for asylum.
That's immigration court data. It shows there's anywhere from 13%, 12%, 13 to 15% for the 3 Central American countries that do not, they get a meritorious claim, 13 to 15%, which means 87 to 85% lose their case.
And then those that are ordered to be removed, less than 2% actually were removed or left the country. Is that correct?
Actually, it's closer to 1%, but I was generous saying 2%. It's actually, it's 1.6 just recently, but it's been 1.2 to 1.6. So it's yeah, most do not leave. And that's another enticement. That's why more people keep coming, because families in Central America, even though they know most will lose their case, they're not going home.
And there's, as I understand from your report, an 800,000 case backlog in the immigration court. Is that correct?
It's now over 1 million. There's 800,000, but I went to the website last night and they're reporting 1 million.
Would you agree that these figures are staggering, Mr. Hoagland?
Absolutely. I mean, when I was the ICE director, the backlog was already near 600,000. So what's happened the last 2 years? Yeah, that sounds right to me.
And you say on page 3 of your report, you say illegal crossings are down, consistent from the high in May, but we are still at high numbers beyond last year. And then this is the sentence I want to highlight. The significant gains made on this issue are because of our president and the men and women of CBP and ICE, and not because of anyone in this room. First of all, I want to apologize to you that Congress has failed the American people. And I'd ask for you to deliver a message, and please tell the men and women of CBP and the men and women of ICE that we appreciate their hard work and what they do, and that there are still members of Congress who want to solve this problem. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I yield back.
Hit the like and subscribe button if you guys are just joining in. This is crazy.
You know, we have talked about these loopholes in previous hearings as well, and you have eloquently talked about them just now. And I've said before, and I will repeat again, I think these loopholes actually incentivize people to travel thousands of miles, pay cartels huge amounts of money. A lot of the women are getting raped. We've had evidence how children are being abused by the cartels. And so changing some of these loopholes and clearing them, I think will help mitigate the entire problem. I think all of us care about people that are being abused. If somebody's being raped by cartels or children being abused by cartels, of course, none of us up here would want to ignore that. But there's a difference in how we should mitigate the problem. And so, Mr. Homan, I have 6 bills that I have introduced and sponsored that would try to clean up these loopholes. To stop incentivizing people from coming here. And one of them is to raise the credible fear standard for asylum, because as you said, the initial standard is too low, as evidenced by the numbers. I mean, like 85 to 90% of them pass the initial phase, but then, a huge number, 86, 87%, when they finally go in front of a court, don't. So if we solve that problem,
guys, hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the like button above.
Going back
hit
to
the
Mexico,
subscribe
the
button if you guys
MPP
are new to the
protocol.
channel.
Could we get rid of it, do you think?
Well, certainly it would have an effect on it, because if we had a meaningful asylum bar that people who couldn't come up and just claim to say 2 or 3 key lines to get approval, they stop coming. Because look, the bottom line is the data of the immigration courts are clear that 87% of these people do not qualify or fail to show up. So if they know before they leave their homeland, spend their life savings making this dangerous journey, that the chance of getting approved, because they know they're not escaping fear and persecution from the government because of race, religion, political beliefs, they'll stop coming. And enforcement of law has a meaningful effect. If you look at consequence of deterrence, it means something. And a couple of things I just want to add to this is, I've heard a lot of testimony here today, but I'm hearing today that people think the system's rigged against the immigrant now, but the approval rates and the denial rates have not changed from FY 14-15 to today. So if there's a fix put in, the denial rates back in 14 and 15.
What do you guys think? Do we need to deport the illegals or keep them?
So the denial rate remains the same.
Keep?
So I don't see the correlation and there's this fix in. And as far as representation, does representation make a difference? If you look at ERO data, the approval rates anywhere from 10% to high to 20%, and representation rate has not changed beyond 20%, even though represented by attorney. And that's tracked in ERO data sheet. So representation really doesn't make a difference because they don't qualify, and the representation is not going to change the facts of the case. And this is all available on the Immigration Court database.
Thank you, Mr. Homan. Another question I have for you, Mr. Homan, is it fair to say that right now, the immigrants that are seeking asylum that are in Mexico waiting, are they able to say that, oh, I'm afraid to be in Mexico and have, get a hearing on that? I think my data says that, yes, they are. Fear screenings are established part of the program. And as of October 15, 2019, USCIS completed over 7,400 screenings to assess the fear of return to Mexico. So people that are in Mexico under this program can actually say, I'm afraid. and go in front of someone.
The interviews in the beginning when they enter the United States, if they cannot be returned to Mexico if they establish a clear danger to return to Mexico, that they'd be at, in harm's way. So that's in the front. They can't be sent back to Mexico without that interview occurring. That there is no fear to return to Mexico. That's on the front end of that.
All right.
And I want to add one thing.
Sure.
I do think there are some
illegals that we should deport
that qualify for asylum. So I'm not painting with a broad stroke saying it's all fraud, but based on the data and the findings of the judges across this country, 80%, 87% do not. There are certainly people who certainly do fear return to their homeland, but the problem is when you got 80% rate of denial and fraud, you're backing up the system for the people in this world that are really escaping fear and persecution from their homeland, such as some of the African nations and other nations around the world, who really do need our help. And the system is being, asylum claims are up over 2,000% in the last couple of years. It's troubling for the ones that really do need our help.
I agree. And
Absolutely. Final end.
Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. Welcome to our program. Two great guests, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. We look forward to exploring his role in the last election. And in age, this 42 up to 50, maybe 39. These are the age of many of the people.
Guys, is there any news about Kamala Harris? Any news about Kamala? Should we check on old Kamala? We love Mrs. Kamala. How is she doing? Any news about her? Love watching the dead.
What you just watched cost a few $1 million. You heard that right. Kamala Harris's campaign allegedly spent over $1 billion.
Oh yeah, did it? Ain't no way in shit anyone's gonna do nothing for free for her ass. Hell no.
According to FEC filings, and is $20 million in debt. How is that even possible? Well, she spent over $20 million on celebrity endorsements, $15 million on event production, $12 million on digital media consultants, almost $4 million on a marketing agency.
Ironically, Trump says he has some extra money in his campaign funds and he's gonna give it to her, but I would let her ass drown in debt. Who gives a shit? I mean, she's the idiot that paid for all of this.
Social media influencers, $1 million to Oprah, $100,000 on the Call Her Daddy set, and $450,000 a day to advertise on the Vegas Sphere. The Washington Examiner reports the Harris campaign and its affiliated committee spent over $654 million on advertising from July 22nd to Election Day. Trump spent $378 million in that same period, which is 57% less. Even a DNC National Finance Committee member went on Fox News to say this about the exorbitant spending.
This is just
she had more money and she couldn't win.
Yes, the Harris campaign is still asking for donations, even after her failed campaign. I mean, it's so bad, Trump is offering to pay the debts as a sign of desperately needed unity. Hindsight truly begs the question, was the candidate who burned $1 billion-sized hole in her campaign's wallet going to be able to solve America's economic crisis?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Imagine that she just wins this presidency. We hear her goofy ass is just $20 million in debt. We're like, oh, okay, we think that she's gonna get us in a better economy. Well, she does get an award for the world's fastest spender, I guess. Let's see what Daddy Trump is up to. Father Trump.
And ladies and gentlemen, look who is now making
hell
his way
yeah.
to the world famous octagon, flanked by UFC CEO Dana White, 45, soon to be 47, President-elect Donald Trump.
I wish the people at your home could hear the sound in this room. It is so loud in here. It is so loud. It's always loud when he comes here, but now that he's won, now that he's the president again, oh my God.
Wow.
So Donald Trump making his way to watch the UFC, which he absolutely loves, and doing so with some sort of victory lap after regaining the presidency earlier this month in emphatic fashion with an election blowout of the Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris. Congratulations, sir.
Joe Rogan. America is back. We are so back.
Congratulations, Mr.
We are so back. Baby. America is back, baby. America is back. Donald J. Trump is back.
What a moment here inside Madison Square Garden as the president-elect Donald Trump feels the love from all of these New Yorkers and all the fight fans around the world who have made
Donald
their
J.
way
Trump.
to UFC 309.
Oh, look, it's the boys! The boys are back in town! The boys!
Robert Kennedy alongside.
He's keeping his boys like
Position
this.
in Donald Trump's cabinet.
Oh, he's not fucking around with the deep state government this time. He's keeping his boys like this. He's really not fucking around. You know someone's not fucking around when they keep their gang and their boys like this.
Nobody's sitting inside Madison Square Garden.
Okay, I can't lie. Mr. White, you have one weird head. I'm sorry. I think that's the first time that's ever been said. Hell yeah, America, we're back.
Spared my life for a reason, to restore America to greatness. Together we can truly make America great again.
The 45th and the 47th. Imagine you're just sipping a freaking... What is that guy drinking? Imagine you're just drinking a freaking tequila. Trump pulls up right next to you with freaking RFK. You're like, what the fuck? You know that's that guy's exact face. Like, in his mind, he's like, what the fuck? I'm staring at RFK and Trump's right in front of me. Thank you. We love you, America. Beautiful people. Beautiful. Trump and his son, he got the whole gang. Only the family. Only the family. This is the Trump version. This is OTF Trump. OTF Trump. Only the family. Guys, smash the like and subscribe button.
To pay-per-view at the top of the hour. Festive atmosphere doesn't even begin to describe it here inside the world's most famous arena.
Donald Trump has made a surprise appearance at the UFC, and, well, he was received like a king.
I wish the people at home could hear the sound in this room. It's so loud in here. It is so loud. It's always loud when he comes here, but now that he's won, now that he's the president again, oh my God.
That is quite
That's
reception.
Amazing.
And it wasn't just the crowd. Even UFC fighter John Jones honoured the president-elect by doing a YMCA dance.
Of course he did. He's
I don't
Donald
think
J.
I've ever
Trump.
seen a UFC fighter
Do a dance.
do moves like that.
No.
Joining us now is our man in the US, journalist and commentator Brad Palumbo. Brad, watching those images, I mean, Trump was treated like an actual rock star. Help us here in Australia to understand a UFC crowd and why Trump was greeted that way.
Yeah, these are his people. These are the people who love him, right? This is working class Americans, their form of entertainment. You won't catch many PhDs in the audience or coastal elites. So this is the exact kind of atmosphere and audience of people that got President Trump reelected. And he's clearly thriving and enjoying all the fans and all the love. But I will just say, it's great to see him having a good time. He's got about a month of this victory tour before the work kicks in, and he's going to have quite the job on his hands. So enjoy it while it lasts, because after January 20th, I don't know if he'll have time for too many UFC appearances.
Well, speaking of getting down to work, Brad, the new border czar, Tom Holman, means business. He seems to be a real sharpshooter, likes to get straight into work, unlike his predecessor. Have a look.
I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country.
You're being deported.
You better start packing now.
Sorry, suckers.
I love that. I love it. I think that's so good. And Brad, unlike Kamala, this guy is not at a dance party with Beyonce. How much confidence is there that he will actually get this done and turf out those illegals?
I think he'll do whatever he can to enact President Trump's promises of widespread deportation efforts, because I think what we're going to see is a pendulum swing. The Biden administration took immigration so far out of control. So just let the border become an absolute mess under
They let anybody come in that
Kamala
wanted.
Harris. And they tried to gaslight us and say she was never a border czar, but she very much was, and it was very publicly reported and widespread at the time. I think Trump's going to crack down, and his new appointee really does seem to have that same agenda in mind. One thing that happened a lot during the first Trump presidency was he would have appointees or staff who would not actually see eye to eye with him and would just kind of play along and say they were on his side, but then actually try to enact a different agenda behind the scenes or thwart
It's goddamn
him.
true.
I think this time is going to be different, for better or worse, depending on your perspective. He's going to staff his administration with true believers, and if anything, immigration is going to be the prime example of that, where his policies are going to be implemented.
Yeah, it certainly seems Donald Trump is very aware he's got one term. He's going to give it everything he's got, and he's not going to be intimidated or concerned what other people think. The Bitter Banshees over at The View, Brad, I know it's one of your favourite TV shows, have had another shocking week. This time Whoopi Goldberg has been caught out after she claimed a Staten Island bakery refused to serve her because of her left-wing views. But in fact, it turns out they couldn't serve her or any other customer because their oven had broken down.
Rather than commit to something they couldn't guarantee, they said we can't do it. And the person who besmirched and defamed them took that as an insult to her. Well, get over it. This family will be here for, God willing, another 145 years.
Brad, do you really watch The View? And has Whoopi Goldberg completely lost it?
Well, I only watch it because fans of my podcast, Brad versus Everyone, love to hate watch it with me and see what woke victim nonsense they're up to. Like this time, Whoopi Goldberg basically made up a victim script for herself. Imagine some oppression, but I'm sorry, Whoopi, your victim card is being declined. It's like she thinks that, oh, well, I'm a celebrity and I'm really important, so they can't possibly have issues with their boiler at a dessert place. They must be discriminating against me. You're not actually that important outside of a very narrow slice of liberal elite society. But they've made victimhood a form of social currency in woke circles and in progressive media. So they're always falling all over each other to see how oppressed they can be and how, oh, woe is me. And if there's just that pesky little problem that it's not actually true, that doesn't really matter much. I mean, we've seen that over the years with mainstream media.
No, you're absolutely right. But God, they're just so bitter. You just look at them all and just go, goodness me, get back to actually telling stories and doing your job. Now, before we let you go, Brad, Disney is back to its woke ways. Here is the actress playing the new Snow White, giving us a rundown on the new film.
No longer 1937.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Oh dear, Brad. Now love stories have fallen the way of woke. Now that's offensive.
Yeah, and she's the same lovely soul who just put out a message wishing Trump supporters that they never know peace. So we have an epidemic on our hands of out-of-touch actresses and celebrities. I mean, why accept a role if you clearly despise it of a beloved classic? Like, maybe don't take that role then. Or if you do decide to take that role, don't trash it and insult all the fans who are the only reason you have a career or you have this opportunity in the first place. The divide between America's elites and normal, sane people, it just seems to me is growing every single day. And people like this are just widening that divide every time they open their big mouths.
Yeah, that's very, very clear. Brad Palumbo, once again, thank you so much for helping us make sense of America.
Thanks, guys.
And now it's time for a
Lefties
special
losing
edition
it.
of Lefties Losing It.
Lefties
Let us take
losing
a moment
it.
and
Hell
look
yeah.
at President-elect Donald Trump's top 5 selections so far for his cabinet and other high-ranking administration positions. Coming in at number 5 is CIA Director John Ratcliffe. And this selection matters, folks. For more than a decade, we've seen these institutions become weaponized to attack conservatives, not just Donald Trump. And John Ratcliffe's performance in exposing and destroying former FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok was a thing of beauty.
The approximately 50,000 text messages that I've seen with your personal beliefs like F Trump, stop Trump, impeach Trump.
Hell no,
confirm on the
keep
record
Trump.
that none of that occurred on an official FBI device or on official FBI time. Go ahead and do that.
Sir, no, they did. Many of them did.
Oh, they did. Agent Strzok, are you starting to understand why some folks out there don't believe a word you say, and why it's especially troubling that you, of all people, are at the center of the 3 highest profile investigations in recent times that involve President Trump, and that you were in charge of an investigation investigating, gathering evidence against Donald Trump, a subject that you hated, that you wanted to F him, to stop him, to impeach him. And do you see why that might call into question everything you've touched on all of those investigations?
At number 4, we have possibly the selection that has had the biggest reaction, the biggest freak out from the left, and that's Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Here is some of his finest work.
Like, why is it that the women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions? Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Oh, yes, we're going to enjoy the next few years. And after what the FBI and Department of Justice...
Guys, I don't know if someone unsubscribed
defame
from me or
Gaetz.
something like that, but if you did unsubscribe from me and you're trying to be a hater, I just got one message for you. Fuck you. Fuck you and your whole and your family. Because why would you do that? Straight up. Straight up.
Personally, with nonsense allegations, I could not think of a better person to go scorched
It's
earth.
okay, guys. They're pissed off that Trump is winning, so they gotta fuck with me.
They shall have. Now to the number 3 best Trump selection thus far.
It's okay. We're gonna grow the channel one way or another. I know this is like our first live stream. People might be hating on us a little bit, but fuck them. We're gonna keep growing it.
Too patriotic. And let's not forget how she ended Kamala's first run to be president.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed
I know
about
I've been
it
a
when she
little
was asked
bit,
if she ever smoked.
what is it called? Provocative and verbal with saying stuff. I'm not mad at anybody just because I curse, or I'm not upset, but I'm just like, you guys are whack as shit. But that's all I gotta say on that.
Marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Kamala never recovered. Now to the number 2 selection, another pick that had the left losing it and be clowning themselves by slamming a man with superb credentials. It's Trump's Defense Secretary Peter Hegseth. First to the meltdown.
He also picked, you ready? Co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Not even like regular. Weekend. Pete Hegseth?
Yeah.
Okay, Pete Hegseth. And he's picked him to be U.S. Secretary of Defense. Now, MAGA supporters and detractors are trying to figure out what? Because of this pick.
Not a single MAGA supporter is trying to figure it out. You are projecting again, Whoopi, and learn to pronounce
You're
his
projecting,
name.
Whoopi.
He rates better than you, even on the weekend. And we can all say your made-up name, Karen. Yes, Whoopi's real name is Karen Elaine Johnson.
What the
But I
fuck? Are you
digress.
kidding me? Her real name is Karen? She's a real life Karen? Whoopi Goldberg is on a sex strike. She's 300 pounds with dreadlocks. I don't think anybody really gives a fuck. No offense. Did she even have a husband? Because I feel bad for him.
So let's get back to her bad-mouthing a veteran with an exemplary record.
Is this the guy who's qualified to make decisions about the most powerful military in the world, who clearly does not know anything about the military?
You know, and also I feel insulted. I'm a morning TV host, and I've been here the longest.
Yes.
Where's my ambassadorship to Italy, Donald?
Such miserable fools, and they weren't alone. Here is Democrat Elizabeth
Such
Warren,
miserable fools. All the fools that troll me online and unsubscribe and blah blah yada yada.
Is not qualified.
They're
to
all
be
overweight
Secretary of
trolls.
Defense. I lead the Senate Military Personnel Panel. All 3 of my brothers served in uniform. I respect every one of our service members. Then you need to apologise to Pete Hegseth, who is not only a veteran with 20 years of service, but a double Bronze Star recipient, and is also an Ivy League educated Harvard, Princeton. The folks who are celebrating these appointments have a problem with Pete Hegseth because he transitioned to the media. Would they prefer if he transitioned to a they-them? I'm sure Pete Hegseth won't be okay with Chinese spy balloons floating across the country, or the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan, and then
the trolls are mad. The trolls are mad. The trolls are mad. The trolls are mad. I don't give a shit. Get this account to 0 subscribers. 0 subscribers. Take all my subscribers away. I don't care. I got another page with 3,000 damn subscribers.
General Admiral, whatever that was involved in any of the DEI woke, it's got to go.
Yep, they gotta go, Joe.
Fighting that, and that's it. And that's the only litmus test we care about. You got to get DEI and CRT out of military academies, so you're not training young officers to be baptized in this type of thinking. And you have to reestablish that trust by putting in no-nonsense
Muy
warfighters in those positions
muy
who aren't going to cater
inteligente.
to the socially correct garbage.
And the number 1 selection thus far for the Trump team are the heads of the Department of Government Efficiency, the smartest men in any room, the duo of Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. This is what we can expect. Here is Vivek last year.
And large-scale mass layoffs are absolutely what we will bring to the D.C. bureaucracy, both because it is necessary and it is sanctioned by the law of the United States of America.
And we all know Elon's uncompromising style by now.
There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger
I hope
today.
they stop.
You hope
don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
I don't want you guys to subscribe. If you piss me off, if you subscribe, it actually pisses me off. Like, it genuinely pisses me off. Like, genuinely. If I see you subscribe, it pisses me off. I start to pull out my hair and get pissed.
Is that clear? I hope it is.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Let's discuss some of these Trump selections. It's clear his second term will be markedly different from the first. It's clear his transition team has been working for months now to put this team together. The selection of Ratcliffe for CIA director is significant. The lawfare, the weaponization of the CIA is a focus for Trump's base, and so too the selection of Matt Gaetz as AG, Kosha. This is exciting times for the Trump base.
Now, the biggest criticism of Trump in the first term was personnel, and he fell into, even though he wanted to drain the swamp, he fell into the tried and tested model of Washington types, because he was told and warned they'll never get confirmation in the Senate and, work with them. And personnel is policy. So a lot of his supporters are really waiting to see, how is this one going to be different? He's been sending shockwaves in the last 48 hours through the swamp and others. And what's interesting is the picks that he's made so far, they do have to go through Senate confirmation. So we'll see how that plays out, because there still is that civil war in the GOP-controlled Senate.
Yes.
But they're all very young. They're in their 40s, pretty much all of them. They're populists. They subscribe to the MAGA, America First philosophy on everything from economics to foreign policy and the rest of it. So interesting times, buckle up.
Why wouldn't I?
This is what a lot of the commentators don't understand.
MAGA first.
They keep talking about Trump's just picking people who are going to be loyal to him. No, it's loyal to the agenda which the American people voted for.
It's loyal to America.
His base, his supporters want that. They don't want people in there who are going to be obstructing, who are going to be Republicans in name only. That's precisely what they have voted against. And this tweet from J.D. Vance just on that Matt Gaetz selection is very interesting. He wrote, the main issue with Matt Gaetz is that he used his office to prosecute his political opponents and authorize federal agents to harass parents who were peacefully protesting at school board meetings. Oh, wait, that's actually Merrick Garland, the current Attorney General. And that's a point that, again, the bulk of the media don't seem to understand. They're just so outraged by these selections. They don't understand what's led us to this point.
Yes, that was a shot across the bow to the Senate, newly elected Senate Majority Leader, Thune, and there was a bit of infighting going on, whether Rick Scott, the more populist Trump loyalist, would make it or Thune did. Thune is of the old guard, but he had to fight to get that because he was challenged. And then he came out and put a statement out that I will do everything I can to confirm all of Trump's picks. And then right after that, Trump started dropping these bombshells like Matt Gaetz. So I think what JD's doing there is reminding him that, you did commit to that. And
guys, it's my show, so I would like to show you a clip of Alex Jones, maybe, if it's possible. Because I know he lost his show a few days ago, but then he got it back, luckily.
On that blow, because it is certainly a blow for the Trump team not to get the Senate leader. They wanted Rick Scott. He's on side. He's going to deliver their agenda.
Guys, smash the like and subscribe button if you love America.
He is very much mistrusted, and it was a closed ballot, and I think that is a problem in itself. Why isn't there transparency so people know who the person they elected voted for?
Yes, I think transparency is going to be a big theme coming in, from declassification to pushing more open and out in the public view votes. because people are fed up with the smoky backroom deals that happen. Now, Senator Thune, he's from South Dakota, Ruby Red
Guys,
state.
if you honestly are wondering
it's
why
been
the
funny,
reason
people
I didn't
during
stream
the
the
lead up
Mike
to this
Tyson
were
fight,
recirculating tweets
it wasn't
of his back
because
from
like I
16
couldn't.
others, so he had a
I mean,
lot
it
of
was because I
anti-Trump
couldn't. It wasn't
tweets
because
out
I didn't
there.
want to,
He sort
or
of was
etc.
a protege of
etc.
Mitch McConnell, who the
But
Trump
I just wanted to
faction
bring
does
that
not
up.
particularly care for.
It was because
So,
I
you know,
couldn't. Like
he
literally,
comes with
YouTube was
some
removing it.
baggage to the Trump crowd, but at this point in time, he and the establishment Republicans are on the back foot. Trump has a spectrum of dominance right now, and he's going to use that.
Absolutely. Now, let's compare the Biden administration's border czar, Kamala Harris, with Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan. See if you can spot the subtle difference.
I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country in violation of federal law. You better start packing now.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
And I haven't been to.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
I hear a lot of people say, you know, the talk of a mass deportation is racist. It's threatening to the immigrant community. It's not threatening to the immigrant community. It should be threatening to the illegal immigrant community.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Yeah.
The families can be
family.
deported together.
Big difference there. This was possibly the #1 issue, right up there with the economy, if not bigger. And the base is going to expect to see these deportations. It's going to be a core promise that has to be fulfilled.
And it is going to be met with opposition, the likes of which we have never seen. Still, from including the rhinos and the own party, there's going to be rogue judges out there banning, as they did before, issuing injunctions that affect the whole state. The media is going to be showing sob stories of families being separated and all of that. So you need somebody with a lot of spine and the stones to push forward with that. Certainly Trump but all the way down, and Tim Homan seems to be that person. He never pulls any punches. He was the ICE director, so he's been on the front lines literally seeing what has been happening with the joke of the U.S. southern border that it's become. So he will push ahead, but every step of the way is still going to be a fight on this.
Now, the Democrats have really kicked an own goal in attacking Pete Hegseth, the attacking a veteran with a stellar record, and to see the likes of Whoopi Goldberg and Elizabeth Warren attack this man is a terrible look.
Well, Rita, there's not many women like you.
He is picking outsiders. He is picking people that you don't expect to see, but they're going to deliver his agenda, and that is the whole game here.
They're being very disingenuous with Pete Hegseth, because the thing that they were trying to make go viral, and I think they got ratioed, is he's a Fox News weekend co-host. So they were trying to diminish him. Not all of us in the media are only solely doing that. He has many other things in his portfolio. He is an actual warrior who served for 20 years in the U.S. military, 2 active deployments in combat zones of Iraq and Afghanistan. We've moved away from this, where in the past it used to be actual warriors and soldiers commanded the army and not people sitting behind cushy desks in D.C. He ticks that box. And by the way, he also graduated from Princeton and Harvard for the credentialists who want to mock his intelligence by diminishing him as just a weekend co-host. So it's very interesting. He is a young guy, again, very different profile than who's typically in there, but to diminish him is disingenuous, because he clearly has leadership skills.
And he also clearly knows what's the problem, what are the problems within the bureaucracy that he has to fix. He's spoken about that at length. And I think it's just a very smart choice. He's likable, he's capable, he's young, he's got a lot going for him. And someone else who ticks all those boxes and who Trump has nominated is a former Democrat Congresswoman, Tulsi Gabbard. She's going to serve as Director of National Intelligence. Amazing, Kosha, because not long ago the left were trying to defame her as some sort of a traitor. Now she's
an agent to Russia. She was, and she has a lawsuit out, I think, against the Clintons that's been long-standing. She was a rising star in the Democrat Party, female, veteran. She was given very senior positions early on when she got elected, and the transformation from that to leaving the party, to being an independent, to supporting Trump, and then actually converting officially to the party and now being in the cabinet, should she get confirmation from the Senate, is a great story arc, a mini story arc under the Trump story arc. And the other thing, too, is she's a veteran, but she is solidly anti-war unless it is of direct, provable, tangible, visible benefit to the national interest of America. And a lot of the wars that we've engaged in do not fulfill that. So that's going to be a very interesting shakeup. And she knows of what she speaks, having actually served in combat.
Absolutely, and so many Americans who have great respect for the military would agree with that position wholeheartedly. They're not anti-military, they're just anti-Americans being involved in these forever wars with no clear goals. Let's talk about the revelations here that Kamala Harris's campaign paid $500,000 to the charity run by Reverend Al Sharpton, who also hosts a show on MSNBC. So just weeks before she sat down with Sharpton for a really pitiful softball interview, even by Kamala's standards, she had handed over this $500,000 donation to this charity, which in itself is rather shady. We won't get into that. But there was no disclosure. Absolutely no disclosure, even by MSNBC's very, very low standards. There's got to be some sort of an accountability for what happened here.
You know, there's been this undercurrent of questioning whether there's support from the media in kind, even if it's not explicitly in cash, although here there's even cash. It'll be interesting to see in a court of law whether those things go anywhere, and if anyone's going to prosecute it or not, I don't know. But at least the appearance of impropriety doesn't help. On top of the fact that she raised $1 billion, as we've talked about before, and is now at a deficit of $20 million because she's paying $500,000 here, $1 million to Oprah, who knows what she paid to Beyonce, and I don't think she has much to show for it.
Well, no, it was just completely having zero care for the money people donated. And some of these donations, yeah, they're from billionaires, but some would have been from everyday mum and dads who can ill afford to donate to a political cause, but they had, God knows why. And she spends $100,000 building a set that looks like it costs $5 in a hotel room for Call Her Daddy. It just shows you what disdain the Democrats have for other people's money. This is a good story. I love this one. Have a look at this. This is Kamala Harris and Jill Biden. And see if you can detect the pure hatred here. They're sitting together for Veterans Day commemorations in the Capitol. Watch as they fail to interact in any way. Kamala looks over a few times, but Jill is not having it, gives her nothing. And when you look at what happened before Kamala sat down, you see that Jill does not even acknowledge her. Kamala comes in, she's greeting people, she takes her seat, and Jill did not even acknowledge a woman who a few days ago she was supposedly endorsing full-heartedly. Look at the smiles, though, when Donald Trump visited the White House earlier today. Jill, Joe, Donald, they look like the best of friends. Look at that. I've never seen them so happy. Interesting interaction. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but there are long-running rumours that there's a fracture there. Jill Biden doesn't like Kamala, vice versa, and it certainly looked like it there.
We may be reading into it, but analyzing Jill Biden in the last 2 weeks has become a genre unto itself on Twitter, from the fact that she wore red on Election Day to cast her vote. Maybe something, maybe nothing, but it definitely sparked a lot of rumors because typically the Democrats wear blue. She's wearing red or dark pink in that photo right there. And then the stone cold demeanor with Kamala that you just showed, and then smiling, the biggest smile ever with Trump. You know, it definitely creates an interesting narrative that we can have fun with. And it's backed up by a little bit of substance in that it's easy to imagine that the Bidens do feel snubbed and scorned with how they were treated and pushed out at the 11th hour. So it's not hard to believe.
You can understand. And you talked about Joe Biden and him in recent days being so happy. I haven't seen him this happy for years, literally for the whole 4-year term. It's hard to think of a time where he's just got that big smile on his face. I don't know whether it's just the pressure's lifted and he can just enjoy the final months of his lame duck presidency, or what it is, but he seems to be a changed man. Kosher Gator, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Pleasure.
One more.
Good evening, and welcome to a program.
Now, with the marking of Remembrance Day, now Prince Harry has had a message for veterans. He was obviously involved in active duty himself. What did he have to say?
So Prince Harry, we know that he's always stood up for veterans and lauded their service, and being a veteran himself, we know that's something that he takes very seriously, especially being part of or creating the Invictus Games, and it's basically his MO now that he's left the royal family. Unfortunately, a lot of his comments or any kind of interventions that he has with regards to veterans around the world, particularly in the US, doesn't really go down very well. He's seen as this kind of upstart, you know, he was never really in danger when he was in Afghanistan with his tours there. He really disgraced himself with the publication of Spare and putting his kill count when he was in Afghanistan. These are the kinds of things that have really left him in disrepute. And unfortunately, even though Remembrance Day is one of the key calendars, particularly for veterans in this country, he really seems to have struck quite a negative note. People are saying, you know, who is this guy accepting awards on behalf of of people that, or accepting awards, even though there are people that are more deserving of them. You know, this is the only thing that he's known for. He's never really done anything or achieved anything substantial. He's kind of disgraced being in the armed forces by talking about tawdry things like the number of people he killed and really putting his family's lives in danger by saying it was members of the Taliban as well. So unfortunately, even though he did talk about service and sacrifice and all of that, he himself, his behavior in the last few years have really put a lot of veterans off. And it's quite unfortunate, because if he had stayed in the army, if he'd stayed in the royal forces, he would have, in the armed forces, he would have been able to do a lot more good than kind of what he's done afterwards, and just talking as if he has any sort of moral authority, which many veterans think he no longer does.
I think that's a very fair observation. Now, we know Meghan is planning a new Netflix show, but we understand it's not going to air for some time. When should we expect to see it, and what's the delay? I've only got about 30 seconds left.
So we're still waiting on Meghan's series. We know that it's going to come out at the very earliest in late spring of next year. We know that the Netflix deal is up for renewal, I believe, in September of next year. So if this is not a hit, I suspect this will probably be the end of their relationship with Netflix. They seem to have missed a lot of targets, and it just doesn't look very good for the couple and their sort of production dreams and their dreams of becoming big in Tinseltown and influencing the world. But they're good work. It's not looking very good, and I'm not sure a cooking show is going to be something that would revive that dying relationship, but let's see.
Very good. Esther Krakow, thank you so much for joining us.
Alright guys, with that being said, that's pretty much the end of today's show. So please smack the like and subscribe button. Smack the like and subscribe button, guys. Everyone hit the like and subscribe button. It hasn't been the easiest live streaming on this new channel with no subscribers or any views. And another thing is, like, I'm probably not going to be going live again after this for a while. Like, I don't know, for a couple days, unless you guys subscribe, because, like, we lost 10 subscribers while streaming this, whatever reason that be. I'm not the best YouTube expert, but I have a few things that could have made me think why we lost 10 subscribers instead of actually gaining any. But I'm putting a lot of work into this new channel, because my main channel, go follow that if you haven't, Euro and Travel, that one's getting monetized. It's in the process of getting monetized. I'm just waiting for YouTube to verify everything and, you know, update the information. But in the meanwhile, please guys, go subscribe and like. Check out the other videos on this channel. You know, we have like a little bit of a series where we're talking about Peanut the Squirrel. So go check those videos out. And yeah, let's get this channel back to 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 1,000 plus subscribers. Yeah, let's get this channel to like 1,000 subscribers maybe before the end of the year. That sounds cool to me. Alright. Peace out, guys. Have a good Sunday. And yeah, it was awesome being live with you guys. Hope you guys join my live stream soon. Like and subscribe, like I said, and follow the main channel.